Yeah, obviously, that time of year where anything can happen in playoff soccer and knockout football. So relieved to get over the line. Yeah, credit to ODU. They caused some problems and uh, came with a bit more animosity, shall we say, than the first time we played them, which we expected. But I think the conditions made it extra challenging for our identity and maybe helped supplement theirs a little bit. So we had to find a different way, and really proud of the group that get into a position where we were obviously 2-1 down late in the game there, that they did ultimately find a way. Disappointed that we didn't then go on to win it in overtime, but I think over the basis of the 110 minutes, the team that deserved to go through ultimately did. And then obviously very, very excited to now have this opportunity in a semi-final and a second chance to create a cool moment against obviously an in-state rival.
Brandon, go ahead.
Hey, coach. So my question is, obviously, you not only as the head coach, but as an alumni of this program, how important would a third straight appearance in a conference championship be for building this program even bigger than what it's already been to?
Yeah, we use the word legacy a lot here at West Virginia, and kind of creating your own and forging that path. And yeah, there's players um, that play for the program right now that one day will be in a position like I am, and they'll look back at the totality of what they've done at West Virginia. And I was fortunate to play at WVU during a period of athletics that was almost dubbed the golden era. We had a successful football team under Rich Rodriguez. We had a successful basketball team under John Beeline, and men's and women's soccer wasn't bad either. So um, these players are in a position, whether they're here for just this year, whether they've been with the program now for their third or fourth year, where they're really etching their name into a pretty golden era of West Virginia men's soccer. And I want that ambition to be that they're trying to achieve as much as they can and collect as much as they can. We get to do this for a finite amount of time. You get 4 years. You know that when you come in. So now for everyone at this point in the season, it's about maximizing what we can take from this year. And prize number one is obviously the conference tournament.
You have a question, you put the hands up, that option. Anybody? Kevin, you go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned the weather a little bit. Obviously, had a big effect on that game. This one could be, could not be. How much does it affect your style of play, your preferred style of play, and what does it eliminate that you really want to do when the weather is bad?
Yeah, I think obviously the control of the ball, it adds a dynamic. There's subtleties to just changing the ball that we use, right? We use a Nike ball during the regular season. Now we use the NCAA ball. They're generally a little lighter, a little more bouncy almost. So they already pose a little bit more of a challenge when it comes to control than what we're familiar with. So then when you compound that with what gale force winds and sideways rain, definitely adds some challenges to just simply the control and the speed. And I think that's probably the biggest inhibitor is we like to play the game at a tempo and with a speed that we like to believe that accumulation over 90 minutes is a real challenge for our opponents. And when the conditions force another touch or the capacity for the ball to go from one player to the next is slowed down, you kind of lose that advantage in terms of our technical competency, the collective technical competency of the team. And then we also want to be really intelligent with how we hurt teams. And if you're playing into a wind, it probably invites more pressure because if they hold a higher line or if they come with more numbers, it's harder to get the ball behind them. It's harder to hold them accountable for that space that they're giving up because yeah, ultimately the wind is preventing the ball from arriving in that area. So there's these constant variables and constant adaptations that the players have to make to those conditions. But what we have to make sure is that under those conditions that we can still be effective, that we consolidate in the right ways, that we eliminate as many opportunities for our opponent, as many set piece opportunities for our opponent as we can. And yeah, you have to find another way, and it might not be our prettiest game, just as it wasn't against ODU. But again, I was really, really proud of um, the character of the group, and it was almost as if the goal that led to them going 2-1 up galvanized us a little bit, and you could feel a collective coming together from the group, and I could feel that carry over into overtime. So I'm very proud of that part of what we showed, the team chemistry, the team commitment, and cohesiveness in those moments, because I know the quality. I know there's more than enough quality. But yeah, sometimes the conditions don't allow you to play the perfect game. And that was definitely the case against ODU. So proud that we found another way to get over the line.
Joe, we'll go to you.
Dan, similar to ODU, you just faced Marshall so close to the end of the regular season. When you have a situation like that, generally speaking, are teams what they are, or can they come out lots of times in different formations, different tactics, or since there's been so little time in between the regular season and postseason meetings, teams are what they are?
Yeah, I think in some cases, yes, that's the case. Like you could absolutely be assured that what you see is what you get, and you could expect more of the same. Perhaps that was the case a little bit with ODU. We thought they would. We kind of anticipated what we received. They were a little bit more animated and a little bit more combative, perhaps, than the first game. I think they were they probably felt a little like they approached the first game a little too conservatively. I think with Marshall, I think I expect a more animated version of them. I think they'll. I would assume that they would feel pretty disappointed with the outcome from the game not long ago, and want to at least make sure that from a energy perspective, combativeness perspective, that they try and give a little bit more. I'm sure their coaching staff would be encouraging that. From a tactical perspective, I don't know that too much will change. They did a couple of things a little bit differently in terms of structure against Georgia State. We've kind of prepared for both. We saw last year that they adjusted a little bit from the games leading into the finale of the regular season. We saw a slightly different version of them in the 0-0 in the last game of the regular season that then we were able to adapt to a little better in the final of the conference game last year. So with Marshall, I think you do have to be prepared. I think very astute coaching staff that will be trying to come up with some creative ways to perhaps not allow us to enter the game with an identical game plan to what we had previously. So yeah, we have to expect the unexpected a little bit. But again, we know they're going to want to be the team with the ball. We know they're going to want to kind of control tempo and control the pace of the game. And yeah, we'll do our darndest to not let them, as we did the last time, and as we try to do every time we play them. That's probably something that they'll anticipate from us that I won't compromise on.
Go ahead.
A guy like Marcus has a lot of experience here in the playoffs now. How does that experience help him and also the team around him as you guys progress on?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because I think whilst the experience is valuable, there's also kind of the elephant in the room that he's drawing to the end of his senior year. So each experience is slightly different. I think for our freshman group, they probably aren't aware that we're conceivably 2 games away from the end of the season, assuming we make the NCAA tournament, which obviously we're very confident that we're in a strong position right now. So you have to kind of go through that experience, and then maybe sophomore year you learn from it a little bit and can value that a bit more. Junior year again, but then I think as seniors it's a little bit more challenging because the finality of things is far more evident, and we've seen that we had to combat that a little bit last year with the 10 seniors we had. I think we noticed probably maybe a month to 6 weeks before the end of the season that there was kind of this cloud that was kind of looming for some of our seniors. It was a difficult thing to put our finger on, but yeah, there is this kind of what comes next. My hope for Marcus specifically is that he should feel pretty confident in what comes next. He should kind of have some clarity on his trajectory and hopefully the start of a really long professional career. And that also his legacy is pretty firmly etched in West Virginia history, and therefore he approaches what is left of our time together here with a really selfless mentality to almost give back to West Virginia in the best way he can. And the best way he can do that is to turn up and show up like a man in the way that he did the first time we played Marshall. So yeah, I hope he's excited for it. I hope he's looking to add one more conference tournament title to his resume. And looking to play with an appetite and an energy that shows his gratitude for the time he's had at West Virginia.
We're going to go back to you.
So you mentioned legacy, but what has really been the message to the guys this week, specifically with this postseason run? What's been the message to the guys to get them ready for this game?
Yeah, obviously, first and foremost, this is the shortest turnaround time we've had between games. We're on a 2 day turnaround, so you finish an overtime game against ODU. They're immediately on recovery that evening. We're not not letting them go home, not releasing them from the building just yet. When the final whistle went, we had some recovery work to get through, important nutrition that night, and then they woke up the next day and it's the scout on Marshall, right? It's preparing for the very next opponent. So um, it's making sure that they understand that we're going to do this with the depth of the squad, understanding that we already showed that a little bit in Old Dominion, and we'll have every intention of managing our energy levels, and hopefully keeping that at a really, really high level tomorrow night as well. But I hope that there's a little bit of a mental edge right now in the nature of how the first game went, and obviously the success that it was our day, right? So I would want to believe that the group is excited for a second opportunity to make a really cool moment and a really cool memory against Marshall. I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, the third year in a row where we'll play them twice, and no one has swept. Right, so we split that series in 2023. We tied both games in 2024, and yeah, hopefully we can be the first team in this recent run of history that we have to beat them twice in the same year. That would be a pretty cool thing to achieve, and of course it's the only way we get to play for a conference title, and certainly boosts our tournament resume as well for being a seeded team.
So
Dan, with where you are right now, obviously penalties can be the story of any match. As you're going through training and leading up to a match, since there's the physical and the mental components of penalties, how do you balance practicing it the appropriate amount, not overdoing it, but getting them prepared for the situation?
Yeah, I think we went through a pretty thorough series process last year, funnily enough, and a lot of that was came to the forefront of what we saw with Old Dominion as well. So I think the players are aware of kind of a process that we want them to go through, and this kind of collective process where you don't feel alone and isolated when you're the one it's your turn to go and take the penalty kick, right? We kind of have a system in place and a process that they go through, both entering to go and take the penalty, and then coming back to the halfway line. So it was good to see that, and see them lean on that against Old Dominion. From a practice perspective, it's an interesting one, because you could look at ODU and think, okay, well, everyone that scored, like, let's not practice anymore because their last memory is scoring against Old Dominion. But we spent some time today working on that again. I think what's encouraging for me is I struggled to come up with the 5, and I struggled to come up with the 10, because there was probably 20 players that were able and willing to take a penalty. So that's nice, and we'll have a chat as a staff probably later today or tomorrow to maybe discuss whether we make some changes to that group, and if it comes to it, maybe Marshall are thrown off because it won't be someone that they've seen take one before. That's the challenge we face now. Is obviously there's a history, and Marshall undoubtedly will have done their research and know what our guys did in the penalty competition against Old Dominion, and it's whether the keeper guesses that you do the same thing or that you're going to change it up, and that can have a little bit of an impact on the decision maker of both the goalkeeper and the penalty taker, that without that prior knowledge, you probably just go with your corner and go with what you're assured of. So yeah, we'll have some discussions on who we think are the best 5 and ultimately the best 10 to get us over the line should we come to that position again.
all right, any other questions? You want to jump in? Not, then we will. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Thanks, guys.